Good morning, thriving warriors. Good morning, fellow humans. Good morning, those people who are just us. Yeah, no big deal, just us. Okay, so here we are. Today is Saturday, November 11th, 2023. So what's the significance of today? Right, Veterans Day. What's the significance of that? Well, 11/11/11. Document was signed that changed the world forever, got us on this path that we're on right now. Okay, so here we are, Veterans Day, Saturday, November 11th, 2023. And 11/11/11, I will be at the Republican Committee meeting, AKA, I don't know, somebody calls it a clown show. Not very impressive. But there's always hope. There's hope. So anyway, here we are, 1 minute in, and the purpose of this podcast, this daily podcast that occurs around 6 o'clock every morning Pacific time, is to help people who are not believers and not successful get from where they are to someplace better. To get from point A to point B, to get from their someday Isle to Successlandia, a place we call Successlandia. And so even though this is designed for people who are not believers and not successful, the goal is to help them become successful and to become believers or successful believers. And success doesn't mean money. Because money is what money does. Money is not the root of all evil, and lack of money is not the root of all evil. Money is what money does. At least that's what I learned here on my undergraduate degree, Santa Clara, as a Bachelor of Science in Commerce with an emphasis in finance. Money is what money does. And what is money? Okay, money is what money does. But success could be a formula where success is a function. Higher level math. Success is a function of money times meaning and purpose. So if you have no meaning or purpose in your life, that's money, however much money you have. Let's say it's $6 Brazilian. And you have, yes, I said Brazilian dollars. Not a big number. They're just money that they have in Brazil. Okay, let's change it. You have $6 billion. Okay. $6 billion times zero meaning and purpose, you are not successful. And it's quite likely you could say there's no purpose for living. There's no meaning in the world. There's no purpose for living. No matter what I have, I know I'm going to be disappointed. Sort of like Anthony Bourdain, right? Or Robin Williams, or any of those guys that no matter what they got, they knew they weren't going to be happy, and there was no purpose to keep living. There was no point. They lost hope. So for us, though, success is a function of meaning, a function of money times meaning and purpose. So if you have a lot of meaning and purpose, and you take that money and you multiply the money by the meaning and purpose, you can do a lot of good for a lot of people. So that begs the question, what is meaning and purpose? Right? Because we know what money is. Money is what money does. Money is a tool. What is meaning and purpose? Well, simply, for our definition, meaning means to act such that everything you do matters. Everything that you do matters. And purpose is service to others. So if what you do matters and it's service to others, multiplied by whatever meaning you have, you can be extremely successful. And if you get to the point of where you can be a believer, that your purpose in life is to nurture and share the presence of God within you, because it says in the Bibles, the kingdom of heaven is within you. If you nurture and share that times meaning and purpose, you will take that little spark of God that we're born with and turn it into a raging inferno and really become quite a person and deserve the name of saint or earn the name of saint. Okay, anyway, we're 5 minutes in. This is normally a 5-part podcast, but on weekends we don't focus on the stuff during the work week. We focus more on spiritual matters. And this is what does that mean? Well, this is a 4-part transformational program: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Those 4 parts have to be, think of it like a table. Okay, if you have 4 legs on the table, oops, one leg fell off. I don't have a spiritual leg. Well, I can't put anything on this end of the table because everything will slide off. Some things will break. Other things got to be stacked back up. So you need these 4 foundational things, or the metaphor we use of a boat. It's like the sail, the rudder, the below deck, and the hull. If those things are not solid, if they're not functional, if they don't work, you're going to have a very miserable, short, and brutish journey. Okay? So our program is a 4-part transformational program. Monday through Friday, we focus mainly on the mental, physical, and emotional parts, and of course, some spiritual. On the weekends, we mainly focus on the spiritual part, and that's what we're going to get to soon. So our program is 4 parts. The podcast is 5 parts, and each part of the podcast has some number of parts. Kind of cool. That's why you have to. You have to write it down. It's in my jacket. All right, but we're going to start with our first part, which is to prepare, project, get yourself centered, focused, etc. And this we do through a breathing exercise that is described by Professor Daniel Huberman at Stanford. Andrew Huberman at Stanford. Forgive me, mea culpa. And it goes like this. It's a double intake and a single exhale. And depending upon how long the exhale is, our heart rate is either going to go up or our heart rate's going to go down. We're either going to get more energy to overcome anxiety and problems, or we're going to release excess energy to calm down, slow our heart down. So, but this is the morning time. We want to kind of get going here. It's almost 8 minutes in. So let's do it like this. The goal is to get as much air into our lungs as possible, and that's why we do the double intake. And if you want to get rid of stress, it would be a long, slow 40 to 60 seconds exhale. So it's almost like holding your breath. All righty then. Now let's get our coffee. I took my book last night. I took the wrong book. So I took my book, unfortunately, to U-Turn for Christ. Shout out U-Turn for Christ. I took my book there, so I don't have it. I will do it. All righty. Okay, next. Topic of today. Set the narrative aside, just for today. So imagine you have a narrative story. Let me tell you a story. The narrative is the story. It's just a highfalutin way to say story. Set the current story of your belief of the system, of God and everything. Just set it aside. Just put it right here. This nice little package. It's not going to go anywhere. It's safe in this basket. Just set it aside for a moment and be open to some different ideas. And best case, worst case, it's going to strengthen your belief in the story that's in the basket and the narrative that's in the basket. But let's set the basket aside for a second and just be open to a new story, a different story. All righty then. Let me tell you a story. Imagine a building. So it's a 4-story building. And you've never been in the building before, but it's very attractive to you. So however you see that attractive building, could have glass windows, could be mostly granite with glass, who knows, whatever. But it's a very attractive building. Could look like a church. However you see the building, there's this building. You've never been in it before, but you're compelled to go inside. And you have time. You have no pressure on anything. So you enter the lobby of the building, and you've got a choice. You can go up the stairs, or you can go through the doors into the building inside. But you're just in the lobby, so you don't really know what's in the building, but you feel good about the building. It's kind of interesting. Kind of like, I feel good in here. What's going on? What's this building about? I've got a lot of curiosity, but I feel good. I can go up these stairs, and it's however you see the stairs, but it's not like boom, it's right up there. It's a little bit of a challenge, but not a big challenge. It's not. It's just, nice set of stairs, goes up, maybe winds around. There's no elevator though. So you decide, okay, well, I'm intrigued. And you decide to walk through the lobby, through another set of doors into the building. And when you open the doors, you get an immediate feeling of what? But what you see is a whole bunch of different sections, different areas. And some of them kind of seem like they flow from this to that. And other ones are, well, that's distinctly different from over here. And over here is this. And boy, this is really curious. And there's artifacts and there's things, or just stuff. It could be clothes, whatever, however you see it. It could be tools. But you go in and you see there's just a whole bunch of really cool, neat stuff. And there's a bunch of sections, but the sections, each unique sections, but there are different areas. So like if it's a department store, you might have the men's clothing area. And in the men's clothing area, there's pants and there's shirts and there's jackets and things. So it's kind of like that there's sections, but within the sections, there are specific items. And you can you start walking down the aisle. And it kind of seems like, okay, well, there's this aisle here and this aisle here. And it seems to me like if I walk down this aisle, I'll eventually come back this way. So I have a choice. I could go down this aisle. I could go down this aisle. I could go down an aisle, and it looks like it's easy to break off from that aisle, walk around, and I'll end up back here. And then I'll go up to the second floor. So I do that. And I get to choose how long I'm going to stay at each section. And it kind of seems like maybe the appropriate thing to do is the next section follows from the first section. So maybe what I should do is just go section by section. But I don't have to. I can do whatever I want. I want to go section by section all the way around. And it's going to take me a long time, but that's okay because I'm not pressured for time. And let's say I do that. I go all the way around, I come back, and I now have a better understanding of what this store is about. In fact, I kind of have an idea of what's on the next floors. Not really quite sure, but I kind of have an idea because the stuff down this floor kind of prepared me for what's upstairs. Because there are little signs. Upstairs, you're going to find this. This will be upstairs. See this upstairs. Kind of like preparing me for upstairs and getting me excited. And every time I think of, the sign says upstairs. Should I just hurriedly walk through the store, go back out to the lobby, and go up to this next floor, or should I continue on my journey through the first floor? You can do that. And so now you're back in the lobby. Or you could have never gone to the first floor and just decide to go in the building. It's like, I'm going to peek inside of there. Boy, that's a lot of stuff. I could spend a lot of time in there, but I'm not going to do that right now because I want to explore and see what's on the next floor. So I go to the second floor. And the second floor is very, very different from the first floor. There's only 4 sections. And the floor is the same size. So there's a lot, could be a lot of walking. There's only 4 sections, and they're pretty basic, simple stuff. Not like the first floor. If the first floor was tools, there are all kinds of tools. On the second floor, it's simple stuff, like, I don't know what, but it's not like the first floor was wow. The second floor is, this is not a lot of selection and variety, but it's a lot more richness, not rich in terms of money, but could be the difference between a piece of formica and a piece of maple or walnut, where you have something, a tabletop that's formica, that's wood grain formica, and the other one is actual wood. It's a richness like that, not a richness in terms of money. In the middle of the room is this wonderful staircase and elevator going to the third floor, kind of like a spiral staircase that invites me up to the third floor. So you go to the second floor, and it's kind of like your feeling would be like, okay, well, I can spend a lot of time here, but I think I got it. I understand what this floor is like. I'm not going to spend enough time, a lot of time here. I can always come back. Kind of seems cool, but let me go to the third floor. And in the third floor now, because it's kind of like I'm invited to go to the third floor. The second floor is cool, neat, love it. Boom, this is what it seems like. It's I get why the first floor said it's upstairs. You're gonna like it upstairs. I get it, and I can be invited to spend a lot of time here contemplating stuff. In fact, there's some chairs and comfortable couches and things like that. Or I can go in any of the 4 sections. But I'm invited to the third floor, and the third floor now kind of explains. There's a lot more sections in the third floor. There's kind of like two sort of areas, this area and that area, but the third floor kind of gives meaning to the second floor. So it's kind of like I don't really need to spend time on the second floor contemplating this stuff, which is kind of basic and simple. The third floor kind of gives meaning to the second floor, kind of explains, helps me understand what the second floor is about. So instead of really understanding things that are on the second floor, the third floor helps me understand the second floor. And I can spend a lot of time on the third floor. You can spend a lot of time on any floor, but I'm kind of invited to spend a lot of time on the third floor. And I find on the third floor, it ties the second floor to the first floor. Whereas the second floor stands on its own. I don't need to see the first floor to see the second floor. The first floor talks about what you're going to see on the second floor. The second floor doesn't talk about the third floor at all. It's the third floor is independent. But the third floor gives meaning to the second floor, and it ties it to the first floor. So in the first floor says your upstairs is going to be cool, implying the second floor. And you get to the second floor, it's kind of well, I think I got it. I think I understand this. I understand the second floor, but there's a staircase inviting me up to the third floor. I get to the third floor, and the third floor is like, okay, here's the meaning of the second floor and how it ties to the first floor. So if you have any confusion between the first floor and the second floor, we're here to explain it. And then, though, I can spend a lot of time in there, but I'm in the lobby of the second floor. I come right up from the second floor to the middle of the third floor, and in the third floor there's a door in the back, stairway up to the fourth floor, and in the lobby, which is way down there, not near where I entered, is and the elevator on the second floor, on the third floor. There's a staircase on the second floor to the third floor. But on the third floor, there's an elevator that goes down to the first floor, and I didn't see it on the first floor. It was kind of not hidden, but it just was obscured by all of the other stuff that was there. So I find that I can easily go from the third floor right back down to the first floor to give meaning to the second floor. And then the fourth floor is just kind of this other thing that's not really connected. It's connected, but it's very different from everything else. And getting up there, it's kind of dark, kind of mysterious, kind of like, I don't understand what this stuff is, but I know that it relates to the first, second, third floor, and I could spend a lot of time here. But my assessment of it is that the third floor kind of explains the second floor, ties the second floor to the first floor. And so that's kind of Christianity, people. It's kind of how it is. And what I would say to you is, depending upon where you start is how you're going to see it. Most people start, so here's the change in the narrative. Most people start with the first floor. So by the time you get to the second floor, you already have expectations. So you see the second floor, you see the gospel, you see Jesus in light of the Old Testament, which is he's the Messiah. You don't see him for John 3:16, where God says, and whoever believes in him part. You're seeing it, God sent his son. You're putting the emphasis on God sent his one and only son, meaning go back to the Old Testament, give meaning to what does that mean? He sent his one and only son. You're looking at it from that perspective, that God sent his one and only son, who have blah, 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 blah. Versus if you started at the second floor, if you started with the Gospels, you're looking at what is it that you need to believe in? What does Jesus say? If you just start with the Gospels and you don't look at the Old Testament, you're going to get a very different picture of Jesus than if you see him as the Messiah. Because if you see him as the Messiah, you see the messianic thing that he's coming to save us, versus he's coming to teach us. If you just start with the second, your introduction to Christianity is the Gospels of Jesus, the message is love. If you look at from the Old Testament, the message is we are sinners, we're bad, we've done the blah, 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 and the Messiah is coming to redeem us, to save us, to help lead us to the next better place. And if you start on the first floor, you start with the Old Testament, I'm going to go through the Gospels, I understand, but pretty all basic stuff, a bunch of parables. And I know the narrative of the story. The guy's born, he's around the age of 30, late 20s, early 30s. He goes around talking about stuff. He makes people aware of who he is. They don't like him. The bad Jews decide they're going to kill him. He's a threat to them. They're going to kill him. They do kill him, but he comes back and he gives this message, and that's it. And then 5 years after Jesus is dead, Paul comes along and he brings in the Gentiles and gives meaning to Jesus's life and really gets the church going, so that by the 4th century, it becomes official under Constantine, and then the rest is, as they say, history. So if you look at it, start with the Old Testament, it's going to draw you to the New Testament non-gospel stuff will be your emphasis. So I can tell you, go into any Protestant church, and most of the sermon is going to be the New Testament, mainly Paul, tying in the Old Testament, mostly Isaiah, probably, mostly Isaiah, talking about here's what Jesus, here's how to live your life, here's the why Jesus is the Messiah. He came, he died for our sins, past, present, and future. All people are saved, but we're not worthy, so we're going to sin. And this very complex thing, tying it back to the first thing. So you'll have the sermon, talk about something, throw in some New Testament stuff, non-gospel stuff. And then once you get to that, then it'll go flip down to the Old Testament stuff, talking a lot about Isaiah or whatever, one of the prophets mainly. And they'll ping pong, go back and forth, elevator up, third floor, first floor, third floor, first floor, third floor, first floor. Oh, we're going to step out of the elevator, look around. Okay, got that out of John. Boom. Okay, a different narrative is just focus on Jesus's teachings. His teachings, not wrapping Jesus as the Messiah. See, 3:16, that shit proves he's the Messiah. John 14:6, that proves you have to be, only Christians get to heaven. Forget about that. Go to the Beatitudes and Matthew, where Jesus says the commandments. First commandment, love God with all thy heart and soul. And number 2 is love thy neighbor as thyself. And then in John, third commandment I give you is love your neighbor as I have loved you. And the context of that was he knew they were going to kill him. And he, instead of running off, instead of doing what they said, just leave, get out of here, leave. Instead of doing that, he what? He stayed. He had the courage of his convictions. Okay, so we are at, this is a new record, the longest talk of all, doubtful. We'll see if anybody makes it through the whole thing. I'll check the stats tomorrow. But if you did, consider that narrative. And the point would be, the moral of the story is, if you just look at the teachings of Jesus and follow those, that will help give you meaning and purpose in your life, service to others, and focus on love, not your salvation. That's it. Okay. We'll continue tomorrow. And cut. Boom.